Welcome to Fortune and Friendship, the podcast where we believe that your most valuable asset is your network. I'm your host, Corey McNabb, and each week we'll connect with inspiring guests who are making waves in their field. Together, we'll explore how collaboration and friendship can lead to incredible opportunities and success. Each episode, you'll hear from entrepreneurs, creative investors, and thought leaders who will share what they're currently working on and how we can join forces to create something amazing. Whether you're looking to expand your own network or discover new ways to collaborate, you'll find actionable insights and fresh ideas right here. So let's settle in and remember, it's not who you know that counts, it's who knows you. That being said, real quick, guys, if you're a returning viewer, obviously this is different. We've revamped the podcast. I hope you enjoy it, guys. Let me know. Without further ado, let's bring up our special guest, Mr. Adam DuPuis. Adam, how you doing, man?
Good, Corey. What's going on with you, man?
Not much, man. Just a lot in life,
Yeah, always. Too much to do and never enough time.
Oh yeah, never. I'm actually trying to work on some time blocking to try and help that out. So we'll see. Hopefully that'll get better here soon. But Adam, tell me a little bit about yourself.
Yeah, so I started in small business when I was like 19. I've owned several different LLCs. I've started companies. I actually acquired a company at like 24, 25. And I run a small business now. I joined Sub 2 at the beginning of this year. And so that kind of kicked me off in real estate. And I went down that rabbit hole of, I actually joined Sub 2 because of the M&A opportunities and Zero Down, which you know, wanting to buy other businesses, whether it was like vertical integrations or horizontal integrations, and ended up just kind of going down the rabbit hole of capital raising. And now we're looking at acquiring RV parks. So that's kind of where I'm at the moment.
Okay. So you mentioned, would you say you acquired a business at 24? Is that what you said?
Yeah, it was 2017, I believe. So it doesn't feel like it was that long ago, but it was a hot minute.
Wow. Okay. All right. So you've been in this game for a little while now. All right. Mainly the business, right? What kind of businesses were you acquiring, or you had mentioned multiple LLCs? What industry were you mainly focused on?
Yeah, a lot of what I do is in transportation and logistics. So I started my first LLC was at like 19. I was basically just doing like for hire moving stuff, like I guess almost like a hot shot in a way, but not really anything that particular, just kind of like almost like a courier service. And then in 2017, I had acquired a bike taxi shop that was struggling in a college town and tried to work it. Of course, I didn't know anything about acquiring a business. Everything was written in as goodwill. And for those of you that don't know what goodwill is, it's basically me telling Corey, like, hey, this is your pro forma of your business. This is what it could do. These are the projections. This is to include things like community relationships and business relationships and whatever. And of course, it was all a load of crap. It was mostly he had burned a lot of bridges in a small town, like 25,000 people, and that's small enough that everybody still knows everybody. So I came in and it was an uphill battle, but we did our best to make it work. I also had a business that was in e-commerce for a while. So we did a subscription box that was barbecue related at the peak of COVID. And that was interesting. Customer acquisition costs are high right now. They are for any subscription model. People are really wary, especially with all the ads of like for the new financial apps of like, we'll cancel your subscriptions for free. Mm-hmm. So that's been a big deal. But right now what I do is we do like Firewood delivery. So we do all the homes, we do movie sets, we do restaurants and a lot of fun stuff like that. That's actually what I'm about to go out to do today is we're going to go across the lake, pick up some wood, drop it off, make sure everything's stacked up nice, neat, tidy. So yeah, I mean, RV parks is almost kind of like tangential to that. It's almost like acquiring my own customer base in a way too.
Gotcha. Okay, so you said across the lake. So where are you located? Where are you mainly doing your business?
I'm in New Orleans, so we cover a pretty wide radius around here. So I'm right by the New Orleans airport. Lake Pontchartrain is just to the north of me, and so I'll be on the causeway today, which is the world's longest continuous bridge, which is always fun. It's just water all the way around you for at least 10, 15 miles.
Wow. Okay. How's the weather out there today? I know I'm up near Atlanta, and it's pretty chilly.
Yeah, it's not as chilly here as it is by you. Actually, one of my friends from Augusta was just texting me this morning, and y'all are about 10 degrees colder where you're at than we are. But I mean, it's gorgeous. We just got this weather like overnight. So this is what we wait for all year, right? Because during the summertime, like, yeah, we still do the restaurants, and every once in a while we get like a movie set that wants a prop order or whatever. But this is the time where we're really running and gunning. We get to see people that we haven't seen since last season.
Gotcha. Okay. So how long have you been doing Firewood? Because I actually had no idea there was such a big customer base for Firewood.
Since 2019.
2019.
Yeah, there's a bigger base than you would think. I mean, like I said, we started out with the barbecue restaurants. There's a huge barbecue festival here every March, so we usually cater to that as well. And like I said, we've done bonfires for like events. We did 3 different sets. One was for like Twisted Metal. One was for I think the movie was called Emancipation. And then the third one, they didn't tell us what the name of that set was for, but you know, we've done several prop orders for people like that as well.
Interesting. Okay, so you kind of or how you worded it, buying your customer base for the RV parks, right? In a sense. Yep. So tell us a little bit about that. What made you want to get into that? And then I guess how has that gone since you decided RV parks is the way to go?
I started capital raising in the beginning of the year in sub 2. I completed a raise for somebody on their single family. I found somebody a position on their multifamily, and we were getting deals all over the place. And one of the deals that we got offered to raise for was actually a fund of funds that specializes in RV parks. And, you know, I became good friends with the people, with Shane Thompson and Brian Rice, which are the ones that they run that fund of fund. And I also was good friends with Jill Jensen, which, you know, she has her own fund that invests in mobile home parks, which are really, really similar, but they're not the same. Mm-hmm. Right. And so looking at the returns that people can get on RV parks, it made more sense for us to go acquire those, especially where we are geographically. And like with things like hurricanes, you know, insurance is much lower. There's less fixed stuff. There's lower costs associated. There's lower staffing. There's lower occupancy rates required to be cash flowing. So all of that made sense to me, right? Like with these funds, if you invest $100,000 in a fund like that, because they are usually all accredited, right? So minimum's usually 50, but we'll pick 100 for even numbers. Most of these funds that are investing in RV parks or mobile home parks, because the returns are really similar, you can get anywhere between 8 to 12% quarterly dividends, and then you usually get a really big exit upon leaving, somewhere around like 3 to 3.5x your money when they exit the property in 5 years, because the average hold time is like 3 to 7. So all of that paired with the fact that you're getting depreciation, you're usually able to depreciate the property more than the actual capital that you have in it, because you can claim up to 50% depreciation in the first year, and then an additional 20% each additional year. So if you're looking at a 5-year hold and you did the math with me there, that's up to 130% depreciation on an asset that you're not actually doing anything in, you're just invested in.
Gotcha. Okay. So I'm just starting to learn about capital raising. So I definitely have some questions for you. I guess the biggest one is when you're capital raising, it sounds like you're raising capital for someone else's fund.
Yeah, I was raising capital for other people's deals, and now we're focusing more on raising capital for other people for somebody else's fund.
Okay. So
And
how do you, I guess, get your paycheck out of that?
so usually they will give you like a commission similar to how most people would do it on a deal as well. But with a fund, a lot of times they will give you like an equity match. So if you get like a 3% commission on what you raise, you will also get like an equity match where they will invest that same commission into the equity of the property, which will then give you dividend checks as well.
Gotcha. Okay. So you're, in a sense, you're becoming the money partner, but you bringing the money from lenders just to bring it more towards like single family terminology.
Yeah, pretty much. It's an interesting space. You and I both know that there's a lot of people that were raising in the single family space, and that's a little bit trickier because of SEC regulations and what you're allowed to like call yourself or not call yourself, or how you're allowed to get paid versus not getting paid, and if you have a substantial part in the deal or not. It gets a little bit easier when you get into like commercial and funds and stuff like that because it's a little bit less regulated. It's a little bit less like you don't have to necessarily have like a dealer or broker's license in every scenario. It's a little bit more fluid, I guess, because there's so much less people in that space of like commercial.
Gotcha. Okay. And we're talking commercial. Goodness gracious. Sorry, that was loud. We're talking commercial, like, obviously you're talking RV parks. But are we going off the basis of financing commercial? So like 5 units and up? Is that
Yeah,
what you
more or less. Usually it's anything that is 5 units and up, or in this case, anything that's a different use, right? Like strip malls and things like that don't have like strict live-in tenants but have tenants also fall under commercial, or even something that could be like mixed use. It could be industrial, it could be retail, like all of that kind of like basically anything that's not 4 units or under that doesn't qualify for an FHA usually falls under commercial lending.
Gotcha. Okay. All right. So since you started RV parks, how's that gone? Have you gotten any deals? Do you own equity in any RV parks? Kind of walk us through that.
We just made the transition pretty recently. I picked up a handful of partners, and I said, look, I've got this friend who's been in the commercial space for 30 years, and she can underwrite a property almost by eyeballing it. And she gets really close with her numbers. And, I've got two other friends that are wholesalers that are local to me. So what we're doing is we're looking at any RV park that is within, like, say, like about a 2-hour radius of us in New Orleans. And so we just made that transition probably a little bit less than a month ago. We did start underwriting parks, making offers. We made a verbal offer on a park, and we actually drove down. It was down south about an hour, and we walked it, TJ and I. And of course, instantly we found out that the park or the offer that we made on the park was probably higher than what it should have been. Of looking at the pictures, it would have underwrote at that, but like walking in person, and you can actually see it, you can touch it, you can realize where your deferred maintenance is, right? Because the pictures always look great, and they never show deferred maintenance. It might be like a 2-year-old picture of that building or a 3-year-old picture of that building in this case, because what it looks like to me was the last major hurricane that came through there did some damage, and they probably took the insurance money and pocketed it. So right now what we're doing is we're just kind of letting time do its deal, right? Because time can kill all deals, and we know that, and the sellers know that. So they're thinking, they're anchored a little bit high. They got an appraisal and I don't know what the appraiser was smoking, but I know I want some. Because he appraised that property at like 981, and it's been on the market for 12 months, listed at 870, but for sale by owner. We came in at 650 and they jumped on it. And when they jumped on it, we were like, maybe we probably should have offered less. And after walking it, we were like, okay, we probably should have been like at least 100 grand, almost 200 grand less than this.
Mm. And you said your partner was TJ?
Yeah. Partners with Tyler Scott, TJ Smith, and Heather Dimmick.
Oh, okay. Sorry, I was thinking of another TJ because I think he's also doing RV parks.
Yeah, TJ Wynn's also in our accountability group, and he's doing RV parks with the Muds. And
that's right.
Last two deals he showed me that he had, because he asked if I had capital partners for him, were in both in Alabama. They were RV parks over there.
Gotcha. Awesome. Okay. So how are you finding these? Obviously, RV parks are a little more specific than, say, just 3-2 home or whatever. But I guess, how are you finding the deals? Are you just searching on market deals? You have wholesalers? Are you reaching out to sellers? How does that system work?
So the first few deals that we were looking at were all on market. There's only about 15,000 RV parks in the entire country. So it's a far slimmer asset class than what people think there is. And just also for the audience to be specific, like, we're not talking about mobile home parks, because again, mobile home parks imply that these trailers are fixed. Like, that is what people think of when they think of a trailer park, whereas an RV park would be more like a campground where you can pull in, you can back in your trailer, you can hook up, you can unhook, and you can leave. And it's not to say that RV parks don't have long-term tenants, because they do, but that is the operative part of the definition right there, is that they can up and leave at any time that they want to. And that's what makes it different, right? Mobile home parks, you usually see them wanting to build like porches around their trailers and all that other stuff. So back to it, how we find them. We were looking online. Crexy's a really good spot if you want to find on-market deals. Crexy gives a lot more information too than what a lot of other sites do, if the broker is smart enough to actually put the due diligence docs in there. Because we found some brokers are good about this and some brokers are not. So like, we looked at one deal and I had called the broker on it and I said, hey, we want, the financials. Is there any way you can send this to us so we can start an underwrite on it? He goes, oh, did you look at the OM? I was like, no, I don't have the OM. Like, how would I have that already? He's like, oh, it's uploaded in Crexy. And I was like, wait, what? He's like, yeah. You just go back to the listing. It'll ask you to sign like a quick confidentiality agreement, but the OM and all the due diligence docs, they're already linked inside of the listing. And I was like, you can do that? I was like, how come nobody else does that? And he's like, I don't know, but he's like, we do it all the time. We do it for all of our listings.
Sounds like a good broker to work with.
Yeah, it was he's a really nice broker. And he's a great agent. Their park was still overpriced though. So, which is what we're seeing a lot of in the market right now. A lot of brokers are telling people that they can get like the NOI plus the land value, but what they don't realize is when you're buying the RV park, just like if you're buying a multifamily, just like if you're buying a mobile home park, you're buying the business, and so you're buying it for the NOI. You're not buying it for the land value. I would care about the land value if I wanted to develop it, but I'm not developing it. I'm buying it existing. And in this case, like if I'm buying it from Corey, I care about what Corey did in the past. I care about Corey's like last 2 years of T12s. What's his income? What's his expenses? I don't care what the land's appraised for. What does that have to do with anything?
Right.
I'm basing my offer off of what is Corey's NOI on this park. If it's usually probably 150 to 200 or better, it's probably a good deal, especially if you're looking at parks like 24 pads and up, which is where we are. That's what we're looking at. So we're finding them on market at the moment. We're getting ready to just pull a list of pretty much all the parks in the country, since there's only like 15 1,000 of them anyway. And then we'll just segment them by state, and we'll start with the states that we want the most, and then we'll just start going down the list. But ideally, we'd like to get one kind of more in our backyard to start, because if I had to relocate to like stay at the park while we're doing things like construction and expansion and rehab and whatever, then we can do that. I'm a single guy, so for me to relocate isn't that big of a deal. It's just me and the dog. Whereas like Tyler's got kids, Heather's in Florida, and TJ's a real estate agent here, so it's a little bit different.
Yeah, I got you. Okay, well, so you just got into RV parks.
Mm-hmm.
You said like a month ago. How long ago did you start capital raising?
Back in like March.
In March, okay. And you joined Sub 2 in what, January?
Yeah, I joined Sub 2 in January. I got my first deal to capital raise for probably like 45 days in the Sub 2, and I had it completed by about day 60.
Nice. So I'm interested in that. How did that deal, if you're cool talking about it, how did that deal come across your lap, and how did you decide that you wanted to raise capital on it rather than, say, go out and buy a property or wholesale a property or something like that?
I mean, simply put, it was kind of the connector role, especially before a lot of rules changed, which the rules changed right around that time, right after I completed the raise. But that was what attracted me to it, was I could just find two people and kind of put them together. And I could say, hey, Corey has a deal. This person over here has money. I think the two of y'all get along well. Like, I know Corey. He's a good guy. He underwrites well. He's got this property. It looks pretty solid. I helped him underwrite it. We looked at it together. And I built his pitch deck for him. So, but the way it came across my lap is just by building a brand inside of the group, like just going in there and posting in the group and saying like, hey, this is what I'm doing. This is what I'm looking for. Adding value, like not necessarily always asking people for stuff, but sometimes just giving value and giving people like little tips and tricks and advice, teaching people how to network or how to maintain posture, how to like exhibit confidence. Like those are all little things that I was posting in the group that made me super, super visible. And then eventually one day somebody just came to me and said, hey, I have a property. If you think you can find some private money lenders for it. And so I hit up every private money lender I could. It took probably going through about 20 or so, because a lot of them were deployed. Some of them didn't like co-living. I finally found one that did like co-living, and they did like the property, and they did like the partner on the deal. And so they got the money into escrow. It was $70K from one lender, and then I found a gap lender to come in and put another 15 in. But this also serves as a cautionary to everybody too, because to no fault of my own, did the borrower decided that it would be a good idea to go and just push escrow back like 2 weeks and not tell the lenders, because they wanted to get a solar lien removed. So the lender's asking me what the hell's going on. I'm like, dude, I don't know. Like, he's not telling me anything either. Like, he was super communicative up to this point. Now all of a sudden, like, I don't know what's going on.
Mm-hmm.
And you don't know what's going on. So she's calling him directly, and he's like, just talk to a TC, talk to a TC. Well, TC doesn't know. They don't have a good TC on there either. And so it's like that whole deal ended up falling apart just because somebody just didn't want to pick up the phone and tell her. If they would have told her in advance, like, hey, look, we're closing, but we're probably going to close late, like not on the day. So don't stress out, because that was the thing, was they had to get the money from an IRA into escrow, and that takes usually about a week. because you got to go through a custodian and you got to do all this other stuff. And so the lender would have probably just been like, cool, I can breathe, I can relax, I can get the money in there like kind of at my own pace and not be stressed out on the phone calling people left and right to get the money moved. That was why she was so aggravated. She mobilized all the units to get this done, and then they just had a lackadaisical approach to it.
I feel like we all get that way sometimes, because I've noticed it a little bit within my business. There'll be days when I'm like, I'm on it. Boom, let's get all this done, get it done in a good, timely manner. And then I don't know if it's just like there's a period of nothing for a little bit, and then you've got to pull yourself back into it when stuff starts to pick back up. Sometimes that's tough. You got to delay. So I'm not trying to defend. I don't know the situation, but I get it.
I mean, look, man, we all have those days where we wake up and we're dragging ass and nothing wants to get done. Maybe you woke up late. Maybe things aren't going right that day. That's one of the biggest lessons that I took from 75 Hard when I completed it years ago is like, it's all about keeping the promises you made to yourself though. Like,
absolutely.
It doesn't matter how it gets done. It just matters that it gets done. And like, you might not want to do it. You might not feel like it. You might feel ill. You might want to lay down. Just take a breather, just take a day off. But there are no days off.
Right.
And like I said, this would have been a super simple phone call. Probably could have been 10, 15 minutes of just, hey, like, we're not going to close this Friday. I know we said we were. I know we made a big deal out of it. But it's probably going to be next Friday. So, you can relax a little bit.
Yep. Yeah, and that would be simple. It's easy for people to overthink things. Or a lot of people, like there's actually a, what is it? Like a biological response. I know for me, like if I get really stressed out or I get in a tense situation where I'm not sure how to deal with it, I go take a nap.
Yeah, I do too. I just shut down. Like I get super fatigued super quickly.
Yeah.
But I will say this too. One thing that I've learned, and I had a conversation with somebody else about these borrowers yesterday, is usually when they exhibit some form of sketchy behavior, there's probably more to it. And like we won't, like I did the raise for those people, and I'm kind of glad the deal fell through because I won't work with them anymore.
Yeah. I gotcha. Communication is key, man. It's one of the biggest things. And I've tried to be, because I'm trying to buy properties, utilizing lenders, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so I try to be open and honest and just say, hey, this, like we're actually looking at one in Birmingham now. We've got to hopefully go out soon to go walk it. And then, but like I've told a couple lenders, like, hey, this would be our first property. Okay. So like, I don't know what I don't know. I'm going to try and be honest with you and let you know, I don't know about this thing, right? You ask me, hey, what about this? I go, oh, that's a good question. Let me go find out. I'm not going to try and play it off as though I know everything and then get anxious because I don't know what I'm talking about and not communicate with you. So,
yeah, communication and integrity are the two biggest things. If you can, like after that deal and after one or two other deals that we started looking at that all fell apart, and we had a couple of nightmare borrowers in there. We had some really good ones too that just maybe they didn't have good deals, but the worst is when you get a bad deal and a bad borrower. And I've seen that a couple of times. And so after that, we put core values like in our JV agreements. And so if you don't communicate proactively, if you don't do things with integrity, and I'm trying to remember what the third one is, but it was more I believe it was communicating with honesty. Like if you're not transparent, you know. So if you're not doing any of those three things, we can terminate that JV at any point. And we did that because we had people that were like, yeah, we're here to help. We're here to be super open and honest and transparent. And then we ended up chasing them down for answers for weeks. And they'd have it like in their pitch deck, like, oh, well, we're doing co-living or sober living. It's like, well, which one? Those are two totally different things.
Mm-hmm.
We're going to, this property is projected to make $1,000 per month per room. How? Where did you get that data? Like, that sounds like a number you just kind of pulled out of the air and said, like, this is going to work.
Yeah. Gotcha. So you've brought up, just to kind of pivot a little bit, you've brought up pitch decks a couple times. And I don't know if you were just giving an example or if you do actually create pitch decks. I know you'd mentioned that earlier.
No, we do.
Okay. It doesn't have to be now. Obviously, we're on a podcast. I want to hear more about you, but I definitely want to set up a time to learn how to do that, because I do think that would be a fantastic part, even just on the bringing in lenders or partners on deals for my business. So I'd love to set that up with you at some point.
Well, we can talk about it a little bit here. So one of the things, I usually keep my decks probably 10 to 12 slides long. They don't have to be very long. They don't have to be super robust. Everybody wants the pretty colors and the best headshots and the crazy transitions and the whatever. It's never that complicated. Like I tell everyone, mine look like a third grader's PowerPoint. Because that's what lenders care about. They don't care about your script fonts. They don't care, like I said, about your transitions and huge blocks of text. It's give me the bullet points and the things that explain to me why you're a good borrower and this is a good deal. So it's usually like title slide about the borrower. Like we're going to put a picture of Corey down here, and next to there's going to be 4 or 5 bullet points that explain. And in your case, if this is your first property, we're going to articulate your experience in the best way that we can to show that it's relevant, right? So we're going to do about the borrower, and then we're probably going to do a slide on the subject property. We're going to do a slide on comps with links to comps that we have, and pictures of comps if we can fit them or if they're there. We're going to do, probably a couple slides on the underwriting, on the loan that we want, and what's the return. What are they getting out of this? Are they a partner? Are they a partner? Are they getting cash flow? Because if so, how does the cash flow break down? How much equity are they getting? Does the equity stay after you refi them out? Does it not stay? If they're a lender, what are the terms? What's the length of time? What's the return that you're offering? Is that negotiable? And I also tell people to do the math for them. Like, yes, show your work. Show that, this is the annualized return. This is the percentage, and this is what they're going to, this is the loan amount. This is the return. This is the total amount. And then that's, obviously what their profit is. So I always break that down because some people will just put like the rent rates and they'll put like 1 bedroom at $950, and then they'll put 4 bedrooms at $650. And it's like, okay, well, what's the gross rent? Like, why are you making me pull up my calculator to do this?
Right.
And then usually there'll be a couple supporting slides after the underwriting. Sometimes if there's like a snippet of the calculator that makes a lot of sense, that helps people, we'll take a screenshot of that and throw that in the deck too. Not like a screenshot of the whole calculator, just like 5, 6, 10 cells, something like that, like a little snippet of it that shows how this makes sense or what makes it a good deal. And if there's anything else that should be included, like backup exit strategies, if it's something that's proximal to other things like co-living or MTR, where you want to show how close you are, to other things, then you can take screenshots of maps and show them like, we're doing an MTR targeting traveling nurses. Well, we're less than 10 minutes from the nearest 3 hospitals. So things like that, anything that helps tell the story. And I usually have a deck or two lying around that have worked or gotten a lot of interest in the past. So what I do with everybody I work with is either A, I will just send it to you and you can just make it your own, or B, you and I can get on a Zoom together and then, we'll make it together.
Absolutely. Yeah, I'd love to do that, even just to run through or just get an idea of how to set one up. Because, I just learned about pitch decks probably a little over a year ago. And I tried making one, but don't even know if I did it right. So,
I mean, there's not really a right or a wrong way to do it. Well, I mean, I shouldn't say that. There's always a wrong way to do it. There's always a wrong way. I've gotten decks that like don't have COE on there. I've gotten decks that don't have addresses or borrowers' names, or like I said, same thing. Like they're worried about the background. They're worried about the nonsensical things that don't actually matter. So I think as long as you keep your eye on the prize and you focus on, basically telling the story about yourself and the property and not overcomplicating it, because when you overcomplicate, you forget critical details, and those critical details will make or break your deck.
Okay. Interesting. All right. Yeah, we'll definitely set that up.
Yeah, and also like specify too if there's like a first, or if there's a first in position already, like specify it's a second lien position. They're probably going to want to know how much is on the mortgage, like what's the mortgage balance, what's the interest rate, what are, they just want to make sure that their money is safe and they're going to get it back.
Right. I got you. So you got to kind of build credibility or talk about yourself in a sense, and then give the details of the deal and why you think it's a good deal and how they would get a return on their money or what they would get out of it if they partner.
Yeah, it basically breaks down to that. Like, tell me about yourself, usually in one slide. Tell me about the property, also usually in one slide. And then all the rest of the slides are just what makes the exit strategy for this property that you picked work.
Good. You got me on in now. Yeah. Awesome, man.
Coffee just wasn't enough this morning, I tell you.
Oh, dude. Yeah.
I've been up since 5.
I feel like the more you drink it, the weaker it gets,
I know. I drink the strongest stuff I can too, and it's not enough sometimes.
Yeah. Well, sweet, man. I'm struggling to come up with any other questions, so unless you got something else you want to talk about real quick, we can move on to the last part of our show.
Yeah, I mean, I'm good with it, bro. If you want to move on to it, we can.
Sweet. Awesome. So I just have a few questions, pretty basic. First one, what made you want to be on the podcast today?
I've seen you and I have been floating around in similar circles for a while, and we haven't gotten the best chance to network as much. But, I told you in your post, I was like, hey, let's trade appearances. And then I realized I forgot to send you my booking link. So I did that before we started recording. Because I'm taking one weekend. I usually record on the weekends. I'm taking one weekend off this weekend. But that's the first weekend I've taken off in like 30 weeks. So that'd be fun.
Oh, there you go.
But yeah, I mean, I'm always down, and especially because, like I was saying, right, you have to build a brand. You have to get yourself out there, whether it's in the Facebook groups or it's on the podcast. Nobody can help you with whatever you're trying to achieve, whether it's raising capital, right? Like, who knows? Maybe an accredited investor will watch this and they'll say, "Hey, I want to park my money and invest in RV parks and where it's super safe and I can get a huge return on it." Or likewise, maybe somebody sees this and say, hey, wait, I have an RV park lead somewhere around there, like in Louisiana, Mississippi. Maybe I can send it to him and he'll buy it. So that's the main reason why I'm always kind of floating around on the podcast circuit, kind of between me, you, and all of the people that we know that it seems like there's a few dozen podcasts out there that do what we do.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. Awesome. Awesome. So I feel like we've touched on it quite a bit, but if we can bring it down to maybe a sentence or two, what value can you provide to someone who is in need?
The main value that I provide is I just help people in any way that I can. And a lot of times people come to me, whether it's with their operational issues in their business, because that's really more where my gift is, being from like transportation and logistics, is doing operations and fulfillment and stuff like that. So usually I'll either help them with the ops work, or I'll help them on the capital side with, giving them tips, pointers, maybe, like I said, a deck that they can make into their own. Or even being on their podcast, who knows?
Awesome.
And I can help people get stupid returns on their money too.
There you go. So then the next question is, what do you need that's going to make you money in your business?
Right now, we just need more RV park leads. I did have a broker call me off of Crexy the other day. I didn't realize that they could get my phone number from Crexy. So he called my cell and he was like, "Hey, I've got a mobile home park if you're looking for it." And I texted him back. I was like, "Actually, that's not really our core focus. We're looking at RV parks." He's like, "Man, you're on it." And I was like, "Bro, I just know what I want." And he's like, "Well, this one's actually mixed use." And I was like, "All right, well, if it's mixed use, that means it's zoned right. So if we wanted to convert it from mobile home and RV to just RV, we could totally do that." So anybody that's got more RV park leads, 24 pads and up, with NOI probably above 150, probably 200 would be better, but with a good NOI on it, we're buying it right now.
Okay. Well, you heard him. If you got an RV park, or you know somebody who has an RV park, or you're a broker and you know somebody who has an RV park, reach out to Adam. He's got his number right there, but in a second, we'll find out another way to get in touch with him. Awesome. Adam, so what is a piece of advice that you would give someone who's kind of getting into this industry?
So you and I know this because these terms are thrown around a lot. Everybody in our communities has read Rocket Fuel. There's the visionary and there's the integrator, and they both have two fundamental philosophies to them. And I would argue that you need a portion of both. The visionary philosophy at its core really is progress over perfection. And the integrator philosophy at its core would be slow is smooth, but smooth is fast. And so you need a little bit of both, because otherwise you end up either stuck in the clouds or stuck in the weeds, and neither is a good place to be. I'm nearly equal skilled in both. Mm-hmm. So, I'm all for, ready, shoot, aim, but I'm also like, if we're going to do it, we're going to do it right. We're going to stay here until it gets done, and it gets done right.
Gotcha.
So I would say you need to have a good, healthy mixture of both. You can't sit there and, just pontificate on what could be or what will happen if you do this, that, or the other thing. But you also can't be worried about the minutia of it either. Like, nobody cares. You're going to trip. You're going to fall. Things are going to happen. You just say, "My bad." You get up, or it won't happen again, and you keep going.
Absolutely. And for those of you that are already listening to this and starting to make the excuse, "Oh, I don't have, I'm not an integrator, or I'm not a visionary." When he says you got to have both, in my case, I am way more visionary than integrator. And so I partner with my best friend, who is more balanced and more integrator than I am. So it doesn't mean you specifically have to do it, but you at least need to go out and find your other half.
Yeah, you need to have it kind of like when you're in college, right? You have a major, and in some cases you have a minor. And so for you, you might have some integrator tendencies. You might be like a 70-30 split. You may have the ability to sit down and do some systems and processes, but you don't enjoy it. So you stay in the visionary work. And likewise, most people that are integrators do have some visionary skills to them. They're not like completely non-creative robots. They are people too, just like you and I.
Absolutely. Well, awesome, Adam. So for those who want to bring RV parks to you, or just reach out to you and get to know you a little more, obviously you have your phone number there. I'm guessing they could text or call you anytime.
Text is always better.
Text is always better. Are there any other ways that people can get in contact with you or get in touch with you?
Yeah, so they can find my podcast is on my YouTube channel. All of my handles are the same, and they can find me pretty much anywhere, whether it's Facebook, Instagram, LinkedIn, TikTok, or YouTube, at the handle that Corey's displaying there, the Adam DuPuis. And like I said, you can always find me on Facebook, message me. You can find me on Instagram, send me leads, whatever you got. Or if you just need help, just give me a little bit of context as to what you got, and I'll help you if I can.
Awesome, brother. Well, hey man, Adam, that's all I got. I appreciate you coming on the show and sharing with us your story and what you're doing now, man.
Yeah, brother, of course.
Sweet. Well, guys, that's our show. I hope you enjoyed it. Obviously, reach out to Adam if you got anything or just want to get to know him. If you want to learn how he keeps his beard so fresh, dude looks good.
Very expensive barber, that's how.
Oh, there you go. There you go. That being said, guys, if you like the show, like and subscribe. We'll see you next week. And until then, peace be with you. Be safe. Love you guys. We're out.
Yeah, buddy.